To fit the filters, make sure the handles that go at the back are positioned properly on the filter. Fit the filter into the runners and push it in until you hear it fully engage with the back connector. Take the second filter and once again make sure the handles are positioned properly on the cover. Fit the connector into the filter. Here too, fit the filter into the runners and slide it along until it connects to the second filter. The filters must be flush with the door jamb. Ionization modules. Here too, the ionization modules must be fitted following the direction of the airflow, or otherwise in the direction of the needles towards the airflow. Slide the ionization module in until it connects up at the back. Take the second ionization module, once again, fit the connector that joins them together, and push it into its housing. Ozone module. Check the direction of the connector. Fit it into the runners until it makes the connection at the back. Take the other module, fit the connector and slide it into the runners. For machines equipped with labyrinths, fit the labyrinths into the relative runners. The same applies to the turbulators that are placed behind the ion and ozone system. Close the door of the unit to start the machine. Using the controls on the electrical control panel, once the power to the unit has been switched on, give the command to start the system. In this case, we have an electrical control panel with a system that also regulates the speed of the fan. The filters in the ion and ozone section both have green LEDs that stay on to show that the unit is working properly. If any faults occur in the filtering system, the LED will change color from green to red. If this happens, we need to find where the problem is actually located, whether it is with the electrical control panel or on the machine, and precisely in the filters. To go and check, we turn off the electrical control panel, shut down the unit, and go and open the door to check the filters. To check the operation, we bypass the safety switch. Now, we restart the machine being very careful, because there are live parts and maybe moving parts as well. We check that the filters are still in the alarm condition. Once the machine is restarted, we check the status of the LED located on top of the filter. If the filter is working normally, the LED will stay on continuously. But otherwise, as in this case, we can see the LED continues to flash. This tells us there is a problem with the electronic filter. Once we have identified which electronic filter has a problem, we shut the unit down, take out the filter, and check it on the bench to see exactly what the problem is. We can stop the machine by triggering the safety micro switch. Now the system shuts down, and we can extract the filter where the problem is. If the problem is found to be in the deox ionizers and ozonizers section, we check the status of the green LED. Here too, if the light stays on, it is working properly, but if it flashes, it means there is a fault, which is found on the side of the circuit box. Once again, when the fault has been located, we extract the relative module to check it on the bench. Once the filter is on the bench, we test it with a special power supply unit or an external power cable, which has the exact same connector as the one fitted to the machine. With the connector on the filter disconnected, we see the green LED on the box. But when we plug the connector into the box, we see that the LED turns red. And on top of the circuit, the LED flashes very quickly. We now carry out a whole series of tests to find where the problem lies, which is of an electrical nature. To do this, we disconnect the power and begin by removing the pre-filter in front of the electronic filter. Now, we will check the condition of the ionization wires in the filter. These are very thin and lie between these blades, which are earthed. We check that all the ionization wires are intact. To do this, we just check them with our fingers and make sure they are not damaged. If any of these wires are broken, they must be replaced. To do that, we have to remove the two top and bottom profiles on the filter, which are each held in place by 4 screws. We can use a manual PH2 type screwdriver or an electric screwdriver. Please note, the screws are stainless steel, so they are magnetic. To remove the profile, just slide it out, downwards or upwards. Once the profiles have been removed, the whole front of the filter can be accessed. When checking the ionization wires, make sure they are nice and tight. In this case, we can see a loose ionization wire, which indicates it is broken. Here, we see the ionization wire, which is very thin. In this case, we keep hold of the 2 springs that keep the wire under tension, and we procure some new wires. Do, however, check that the wires are in good condition and have no roughness on the surface. Be careful not to get cut when doing this, so use safety gloves when carrying out this type of check. If the ionization wire is dirty, use a Scotch-Brite abrasive pad to clean the surface. Make sure they are all under tension. There are 2 different eyelets on the spring, one wider and one narrower. The narrower eyelet is the one to be connected to the eyelet on the ionization wire. After attaching the spring to the eyelet on the new wire, hook it into its position. We do the same thing on the other end, again keeping the wire under tension. We hook up the other end and then place it in position. Here, with the help of a pair of pliers, we hook it into the hole. Having carried out this operation, we then test the filter again. The LED stays green, and also the LED on top of the filter stays on continuously, indicating that it is working properly. If all the wires are intact, but the electronic circuit still shows a fault, we will have to test it. To do this, remove the label that shows the test date, in order to access the screw underneath it, and then be able to remove the whole box. After removing the label, again using a PH2 screwdriver, we remove the screw that secures the power lead and the ionization wires. To remove the circuit, undo the 2 screws located on the back. These 2. Now, lift the circuit and pull it towards you. Move the filter, and we then test the electronic circuit on the bench, once again using our power supply unit. Be careful. Work on the insulating board or keep the circuit in this position in order to power it. Under no circumstances touch the wire connector or even the fin located on the electronic circuit. By plugging in the power, we can see that the LED light is on continuously. which indicates there are no problems with the electronics. So we then have to go and look for other problems on the filter. We put the electronic circuit to one side and go and see what other problems there could be with the mechanical part of the filter. When troubleshooting, we need to check the ceramic insulators, which are these white parts here. We check that the blades inside the filter pack are not damaged in any way. If we find a ceramic insulator that is broken or so dirty that it can't be remedied just by washing it, we will need to fit a new ceramic insulator. To do this, certain fixed components have to be removed that are part of the electronic filter and are secured in place with rivets. To remove the rivets, we will need a drill with a 4mm bit. Now, we physically drill out the filter rivets. We remove the various mechanical parts, which are these two profiles. Once we have removed the two profiles, we can now unscrew the covers to change the ceramic insulators. Use either an electric screwdriver or a 10mm spanner. If we have to change the ceramic insulators for the bars that support the ionization wires, it will not be necessary to remove the covers. The covers only need to be removed to replace the insulators for the capture blades. To take out the wire support bar, just pull it outwards. Here is an example of a broken insulator. This needs replacing. Take a new insulator, fit it into its seat, and fit it back onto the support bar. If the wires come out, they can easily be put back in place. Check that all the wires are positioned correctly. Then place the nuts on the covers by hand. Once the nuts have been loosely fitted, If they are tightened with an electric screwdriver, use the lowest setting. Otherwise, tighten them by hand a quarter of a turn.
Altrimenti a mano un quarto di giro. A questo punto il filtro è rimontato.
The filter is now reassembled, and the profiles can be refitted and secured with rivets.
E il fissaggio con rivetti. Nel caso in cui gli
If the insulators that need replacing are those of the capture blades, we need to remove the cover on the side where the insulator to be replaced is located.
isolatore da sostituire. Sul lato opposto
It is best to place a couple of cardboard packing pieces on the other end so that they cover all of the insulators and the rods that need to be unscrewed.
parte degli isolatori e delle aste che andremo a svitare. Questo per
This is to keep the components in place.
componenti. Dopo aver posizionato al di sotto
Once the two pieces of cardboard have been positioned under the cover so they hold the wire tensioning rods in place, unscrew the nuts that secure the cover.
i dadi che tengono il coperchio e facendo molta attenzione
And being very
si solleva
careful,
il
lift up
coperchio
the cover
per far
until the
sganciare
wire tensioning rod releases on one side and on the other side, without letting the wires drop.
in modo da non far cadere i fili. Una volta individuato
Once the faulty insulator has been identified, replace it. Just lift it up and replace it with a new one.
e sostituirlo con uno nuovo. Fatto questo, si andrà a riposizionare
After this,
il
put the
coperchio
cover back in place,
nella sua posizione
fitting it over the insulators and centering the tensioning rods.
e centrando le aste dei tiranti. Una volta incastrato,
Once a couple of insulators and tensioners have been centered, loosely fit the nut.
impronterà il dado. Dopodiché si andrà
Then, fit all the others, including the insulators for the wire tensioning rods.
dell'asta di tensionamento dei fili. Nel caso in cui
If any wires have become unhooked, they must be reconnected.
finito di posizionare
Once the cover is back in place, once again, either manually or using an electric screwdriver, start tightening the nuts in the middle.
centrale.
Then, the side ones.
Il filtro ora
The filter can now be completed by fitting the side profiles and securing them with rivets.
pedali con gli appositi rivetti. Andiamo a rimontare
We now refit the outer profiles of the electronic filter
del filtro elettronico. Utilizziamo dei rivetti
using 4 by 7 millimeter aluminum rivets with stainless steel nails. Secure them in place with a rivet gun.
Andiamo poi a montare anche
Now, fit the top profile.
a questo punto andiamo
We can now put the filter electronic circuit back in place.
il circuito elettronico del filtro. Infiliamo il cavo,
Feed in the high voltage lead. Make sure the sprung element is loaded
catto e
and fit the circuit into the slots provided.
circuito facendolo entrare nelle apposite feritoie. Fatto questo, fisseremo
After this,
i viti
fit the two screws that secure the circuit box. We fit the screw through the eyelet and then secure the high voltage lead to the wire support bar.
di alta tensione sull'asta di supporto dei fili. Chiudiamo
Tighten manually, but not too tight.
ora che abbiamo rimontato.
Now, the electronic circuit is back in place. We can test the filter with the usual test connector.
Verifichiamo che il LED
We make sure the LED is on continuously and working.
possiamo effettuare anche
We can also perform some electrostatic discharge tests using an insulated screwdriver.
una volta verificato il filtro.
Once the filter has been checked and we see the LED flashes in the event of a short circuit, it can be placed back into the unit once the two top and bottom profiles have been refitted.
Rimontiamo il profilo superiore.
Reassemble the top profile by fitting it into its seat and sliding it back into position.
Puntiamo le 4 viti.
Loosely fit the 4 screws without tightening them fully.
Si consiglia di effettuare
This should be done by hand.
Dopodiché, una volta approntate
Once all 4 screws are in place, secure them without over-tightening.
stessa operazione per il
Follow the same procedure for the profile on the other side.
ecco che il filtro
The filter is now complete and can be fitted back into the machine.
è installato nella macchina. Dopo aver rilevato che la
Once it has been ascertained that the fault lies in the electronic circuit board because it is not working, remove the top profile.
i profili, per togliere il profilo superiore, andremo a togliere l'etichetta
We remove the label with the test date
laudo in modo
in
da
order
poter
to access the
accedere
screw
alla
underneath
che si trova qua sotto
so that the
per
whole
poter
box can then be
rimuovere
removed.
tutta la scatola.
After removing the label,
Etichetta sempre con
once again with a PH2 screwdriver, we remove the screw that secures the power lead to the ionization wires.
dei fili di ionizzazione. Per togliere il circuito,
To remove the circuit, undo the 2 screws located at the back. These 2.
a questo punto
Now,
solleviamo
lift the circuit and pull it towards
e
you.
lo tiriamo verso di noi. Spostiamo
Move the
il
filter.
filtro e andiamo a
And we
provare
then
a
test the electronic circuit on the bench,
elettronico. Sempre
once again using our power supply unit. Be careful. Work on the insulating board,
isolante oppure
or keep the circuit in this position in order to power it.
così da poterlo alimentare. Non toccare
Under no circumstances touch the wire connector or even the fin located on the electronic circuit.
montata sul circuito elettronico. Se dalla prova risulta
If during testing the LED is either flashing or off,
a questo punto si dovrà intervenire a
then the whole electronic circuit box must be changed.
circuito elettronico. Scatola del circuito
Which is supplied pre-assembled.
fornita già preassemblata. A questo punto andiamo a riposizionare
We can now put the filter electronic circuit back in place.
il filtro. Infiliamo il cavo
Feed in the high voltage lead. Make sure the sprung element is loaded
sia caricato e
and fit the circuit into the slots provided.
circuito facendolo entrare nelle apposite feritoie. Fatto questo, fisseremo
After
i
this,
viti
fit the two screws that secure the circuit box.
Andiamo a infilare la
We fit the screw through the eyelet and then secure the high voltage lead to the wire support bar.
fissiamo il cavo di alta tensione sull'asta di supporto dei fili. Chiudiamo
Tighten manually, but not too tight.
una volta verificato il filtro.
Once the filter has been checked and we see the LED flashes in the event of a short circuit, it can be placed back into the unit once the two top and bottom profiles have been refitted.
Rimontiamo il
Reassemble the top profile by fitting it into its seat and sliding it back into position.
puntiamo i 4 viti.
Loosely fit the 4 screws without tightening them fully.
Si consiglia di
This should be done by hand.
effettuare a mano. Dopodiché, una volta approntate le
Once all 4 screws are in place, secure them without over-tightening.
stessa operazione,
Follow the same procedure for the profile on the other side.
ecco che il filtro
The filter is now complete and can be fitted back into the machine.
che può essere reinstallato nella macchina. Allora, modulo ionizzatore
FI ionizer module.
controlli
The periodic controls to be carried out on this module concern the condition and the cleanliness of the ionization needles.
periodicamente gli
The ionization needles must be replaced periodically,
agiti, pertanto si dovrà
so they must be removed from the support.
rimozione dal supporto e con l'installazione
And a new needle
del
fitted to the support.
ago nel supporto. Per la pulizia,
For cleaning,
anche
here again use an abrasive Scotch-Brite pad. Clean the surface while being careful not to get pricked by the needle.
facendo attenzione a non pungersi. Periodicamente
Also, check periodically that the ceramic insulators are clean.
gli isolatori ceramici, nel caso in cui
If they are found to be dirty, clean them by simply cleaning the whole system.
con il lavaggio completo del sistema. Nel caso in cui a banco
If on the bench, when the system is supplied with power, the LED is seen to be flashing,
controllare che non ci
check for any short circuits or broken insulators.
isolatori rotti, eventualmente
If necessary, perform this simple test. Disconnect the power.
alimentazione, staccare il
Detach the fasten connector for the needles.
degli aghi, dare
Reconnect the power.
alimentazione.
If the circuit is working properly, then the fault is to do with a lack of insulation in the system.
Perdita di isolamento del sistema. Nel caso in cui il
If the LED continues to flash, then the electronic part will need to be replaced,
la parte elettronica
which is secured to the structure by 4 rivets, 2 at the front
da 4 rivetti
and 2 at the back do.
posteriori.
The whole support box has to be replaced.
Modulo
Ozonation module.
costituito da una
This comprises a grill and a series of powered points in between the grills.
poste tra le griglie. Anche qui
Here too, as for the ionization system, Perform the check by connecting the power.
inserendo l'alimentazione.
Once again here, as on the ionization systems, the LED indicates whether or not the system is working properly.
Funzionamento del sistema. Si
When the
sente
system is working, it produces a noise and some wind.
e un vento quando il sistema funziona. Nel caso in cui
Here again, if the LED is off or flashes,
o lampeggiante, si dovrà
then
procedere
check the cleanliness of the ceramic insulators that support the grills.
sia degli isolatori ceramici che supportano le griglie e
And here too, on the inside, we have fastened tabs that connect all the grills, and which can be detached to check the working operation of the vacuum circuit.
verificare il funzionamento del circuito a vuoto. Anche qui,
Here too, if the vacuum circuit is not working properly, the power unit will need to be replaced,
si dovrà procedere alla sostituzione del blocco di
again by drilling out the 2 rivets at the front and the 2 at the back.
rivetti posteriori. Per
To
accedere
gain access to the grill system,
si dovranno
undo the screws that secure the grills
tengono fissate le griglie
and the screws that support the grills on the ceramic insulators.
griglie sugli isolatori ceramici. Ecco che
Now we can access the system.
il sistema.
Here, for cleaning, the whole system needs to be cleaned. As for the electronic filters,
Sistema come i filtri elettronici. Una volta risolta
once the fault has been found and once the components have been checked on the bench,
avendo verificato i componenti a banco, ecco che questi
they can be
potranno
fitted
essere
back into the unit.
reinstallati all'interno dell'unità. A questo
We can
punto
now rearm the door safety switch
la sicurezza della porta e andremo a verificare
and check that on the electrical control panel,
siano presenti
both LEDs are green to indicate proper working
per il
operation,
corretto funzionamento e che tutti i LED
and all the LEDs on the filters and on the deox components stay on continuously.
siano accesi con luce fissa. Terminata la
Once the
verifica,
inspection is complete,
andremo
close the
a
door to the
chiudere
unit
la porta dell'unità per
and put it
rimetterla
back into
in
normal
ordine
working mode.
funzionamento.